launch of Dr. V. Mohan's books Banting, Bose and Beyond, and Edilum Sirapur. Guiding you through this function is Guha Pradipa. It's my pleasant privilege to invite all the dignitaries onto the dais. I would like to request Dr. J. Radhakrishnan, Principal Secretary, Health and Family Welfare, Government of Tamil Nadu, to please come onto the dais. Dr. Sudha Seshayan, Vice Chancellor, the Tamil Nadu Dr. MGR Medical University. Dr. Tillai Vallal, Cardiologist and Medical Director, Venkateshwara Hospitals. Mrs. Roshan Poncha, Chartered Accountant, Artist, and Thespian with Type 1 Diabetes. Dr. V. Mohan, Chairman, Dr. Mohan's Group of Diabetes Institutions. Dr. Ranjit Unikrishnan, Vice Chairman, Dr. Mohan's Group of Diabetes Institutions. And Dr. R. M. Anjana, Managing Director, Dr. Mohan's Group of Diabetes Institutions. As per tradition, we will begin this special occasion invoking the blessings of the Almighty. May I request Dr. Radha Venkateshan, Executive Scientific Officer and Head Department of Molecular Genetics, Madras Diabetes Research Foundation, to render the invocation song.
நாதரூபிணி நல்வரமருள் நாதரூபிணி நல்வரமருள் வேதன் மருவும் விலாசினி நாதரூபிணி நல்வரமருள் கூவும் குயிலில் கொஞ்சும் மழலையில் வீசும் தென்றலில் வீணை ஒலியில் கவியில் நதியில் குரலில் அமர்ந்தாய் கவியில் நதியில் குரலில் அமர்ந்தாய் கலைவாணியே கலைவாணியே என்னாவில் அமர்வாய் கலைவாணி என்னாவில் அமர்வாய் நாத ரூபிணி நல்வரமருள் வேதன் மருவும் விலாசினி நாதரூபிணி நல்வரமருள் நல்வரமருள்.
Thank you, ma'am. I now request Dr. R. M. Anjana to welcome the gathering.
Respected dignitaries on the dais, guests, colleagues, members of the press and media, on behalf of the management and staff of Dr. Mohan's Group of Diabetes Institutions, I have great pleasure in welcoming you all to the launch of Dr. V. Mohan's books, Banting, Bose and Beyond, and Edilum Sirapur. It's a privilege to welcome our chief guest, Dr. J. Radhakrishnan, Principal Secretary, Health and Family Welfare, Government of Tamil Nadu. Dr. Radhakrishnan has held several positions, prominent among them being the Tamil Nadu's Deputy Secretary of Finance and Family Health and Welfare, and Commissioner of Land Revenue and District Administration of Chennai District, Collector of Salem, Tanjavur, and Nagapattinam districts. Throughout his career as a civil servant, he has left a mark in every department or district he has served. Dr. Radhakrishnan's tsunami relief and rehabilitation work has received international attention, even from the former US President, Mr. Bill Clinton. He has done outstanding work during the COVID pandemic, which has helped to contain it in Tamil Nadu. Thank you for your tireless efforts, sir. We now request you to kindly accept a memento from our chairman, Dr. V. Mohan. We extend a very warm welcome to our chief guest, Dr. Sudha Seshayan, Vice Chancellor, the Tamil Nadu MGR Medical University. Dr. Seshayan has an outstanding academic record with teaching experience for more than 30 years. She has held several prestigious positions, including the post of the Vice Principal, Madras Medical College, Director and Professor, Institute of Anatomy, MMC, and the Registrar, Tamil Nadu MGR Medical University. Her academic excellence got recognized at an international advisory member of Gray's Anatomy and the Atlas of Clinical Gross Anatomy. Dr. Sudha is recipient of several awards, including the India Icon Award for Contribution to Medical Education, Best Doctor Award, Kalaimamani Award by the Government of Tamil Nadu, Best Administrator Award by the Tamil Nadu MGR Medical University, and several others. We request you, ma'am, to kindly accept a memento from Dr. Ranjit Krishnan, Vice Chairman, Dr. Mohan's Group of Institutions. We are indeed honored to have with us today our guest of honor, Dr. Su Tillai Chairman and Senior Consultant Cardiologist, Venkateshwara Hospitals, Chennai. Dr. Tillai is one of the most prominent and successful cardiologists in Chennai. He has performed more than 15,000 coronary angiograms, 4,000 angioplasties, and several other procedures. He has served as chairman, Board of Studies in Allied Health Sciences, member of Inspection Committee, Tamil Nadu Dr. MGR Medical University, for granting affiliation for conducting various academic courses. He is also a panel member for Tamil Nadu Health System Society, Government of Tamil Nadu, funded by World Bank. For his excellence in education and professional experience, he has been awarded the Best Doctor Award from the Tamil Nadu Dr. MGR Medical University. I now request Mr. Gopal Menon, Chief Operating Officer, to hand over a memento to Dr. Tillai. We welcome Mrs. Roshan Poncha, Chartered Accountant, singer, and artist. Ms. Poncha is passionate about acting and the performing arts and has worked with theatre production companies such as the Broadwalkers, the Madras Players, Drama Act, and Mellow Circle, and has performed over 25 shows, including one at the Vatican in the presence of Pope John Paul II and at the Choir Olympics in Bremen. She is a musician trained by the Trinity College of Music, London, and singer of Western classical, choral, and pop music. Currently, she serves as the joint treasurer and committee member at the Madras Musical Association Choir. She is also actively involved in social work associated with the Stopgap Tsunami in Chennai and currently is serving on the committee for the Pasi Fire Temple in Chennai. See, she has type 1 diabetes since the age of 2 and is featured in the book Banting, Bose and Beyond. We request you to kindly accept a memento from Ms. S.J. Parvati, Associate Vice President, Quality Systems, Dr. Mohans. Now, I would like to say a few words about the books being released today. Many of you may be aware that my father, Dr. V. Mohan, apart from being a good doctor and researcher, also has a flair for writing right from his younger days. His prodigious research has led to an unbelievable number of publications, that's 1,500 research papers, including his 1,000th original paper that has just come out last week. This is certainly the highest by any medical doctor across all specialties in India. His work has attracted over 156,000 citations and has a H index of 139, which is second only to the legendary Bharat Ratna, Dr. C.N. Rao, a renowned chemist. During the last few years, Dr. Mohan has been given vent to his passion for writing. Apart from the numerous medical books that he has written, his book entitled Satya Sai Baba Lives on Bhagwan Baba is one of the most popular Sai books. It has been reprinted several times and has now been translated into 9 languages. That book went to become the bestseller on Amazon and was the highest sold publication by Penguin India in 2020. I'm so sorry. I made a mistake there. Last year, his autobiography, Making Excellence a Habit, was published. And that was the one that went on to become, as I was reading it, I was thinking something is very wrong about this. Sorry, I missed a line. So it was the Making Excellence a Habit that became a bestseller on Amazon and was the highest sold book by Penguin in 2021. Today, we are happy that the Tamil translation of the book has been published and is called Edilum Sirappu. We are very grateful to Mr. M.R. Purushothaman of SciTech Publishers, Chennai, for coming forward to translate this book. Mr. Purushothaman, if you're here, please do come forward. Please come in front. We can't see you. பார்த்து வாங்க. The Malayalam translation of this book is currently going on. Meanwhile, Dr. Mohan started work on his next book and conducted extensive research on the history of diabetes in India. He's always been fascinated by the discovery of insulin by Banting and Best in 1921. Last year, being the centenary year of insulin discovery, he devoted several months of research in finding out the intricate details of when insulin came to India, who was the first doctor in India to use it, etc., etc. In the process, he discovered the extensive research done by Dr. J.P. Bose in Kolkata, who is a truly forgotten hero of Indian diabetology. Through this latest book, which is to be released today by our Principal Secretary, Dr. Radhakrishnan, called Banting, Bose and Beyond, Dr. Mohan has filled in all the blanks in diabetology in India over the last 150 years and has immortalized the works of Dr. J.P. Bose, Dr. A. Mitra, and several others in the period from 1860 to 1940. With the setting up of the first diabetes clinic in independent India in 1984 by my grandfather, Professor M. Vishwanathan, 48. Sorry, did I say 40 something else? Okay. 1948, today I'm making too many mistakes. By my grandfather, Professor M. Vishwanathan, a new era of modern diabetology was established, and we are very happy and proud that it started in Chennai, Tamil Nadu. These details have also been incorporated in the book. I would once again like to welcome not only all of you sitting here, but thousands of others who have joined us virtually through the YouTube and Facebook links, which are live at the moment. So welcome once again to the launch of Dr. V. Mohan's books, Banting, Bose and Beyond, and Edilum Sirappu. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Anjana. We now move on to the much awaited launch of the book Banting, Bose and Beyond, authored by our chairman, Dr. V. Mohan. We request Dr. J. Radhakrishnan to release the book and hand over the first copy to Mrs. Roshan Poncha. We now request Dr. Radhakrishnan to kindly address the gathering.
Good evening to everybody. Most respected Dr. Sudha Seshayan, Vice Chancellor and the Chief Guest of this function. Our own most respected Dr. V. Mohan, who continues to inspire so many people, just like his father did. Dr. V. Mohan, Chairman, Dr. Mohan, Group of Diabetes Institutions. Dr. Tillai Vallal, Cardiologist and Medical Director, Venkatesh Hospital. Dr. M.P. Naresh Kumar, Chief Cardiothoracic Surgeon, Surya Hospital and Public Health Center, West Mamlam. Mrs. Roshan Puncha, who received the first copy of the book Banting, Bose and Beyond. Respected Ravi sir, all the distinguished people sitting off the dais, each equally important and influencers in their own way. And friends, பத்திரிகை மற்றும் தொலைக்காட்சி துறை நண்பர்களே எல்லாருக்கும் வணக்கம். Always in the particular institutions, actually I regard his father, who is known as father of diabetology, a very unique kind of person. நம்ம தமிழ்நாடுக்கு தான் அந்த ஒரு history இருக்கு. நீங்க பாத்தீங்கன்னா in a place like Stanley Medical College, he had the foresight to think about this disease. He has written so many things about Mr. Banting and Bose. Actually quite a lot in Tamil Nadu. We deserve, we really need to acknowledge the contribution of his father and their distinguished children. So I really am privileged to get this opportunity to release this wonderful book. தமிழ்நாடுல உலகத்திலே நீங்க பாத்தீங்கன்னாக்க ரொம்ப ஒரு சேலஞ்சிங்கான இருக்கிற சிச்சுவேஷன் என்னன்னாக்க, ஒரு காலத்துல when we were young, we were only thinking of living once in a while. ஏதோ சளி காய்ச்சல் வரும், அதுக்கு ஒரு SM டேப்லெட், சல்ஃபாமிதாக்சில் அந்த டேப்லெட் சாப்பிடுவோம், 2 நாள் லீவ் எடுப்போம் அப்படிங்கிற நிலை மாதிரி, இல்ல தடுப்பூசி போட்டுட்டு இருந்தோம், வாட் எவர் வாஸ் அவைலபிள். That time also diabetes, BP and all were there. But off late, things have changed every day. Even yesterday I found that, West Nile fever, somebody passed away in Trichur. Then earlier we found Shigella. Everything, public scare ainde irukanga. First I would like to assure you that, when people, doctors like this are here, we need to be very safe. For quite some time, we have been able to conquer any challenge which is thrown to us by this microorganism, or more importantly, by non-communicable diseases. Now, எப்பவுமே சொல்வேன், 2 கண்கள், ஒன்னு தாய் சேய் நிலம், ஒன்னு diseases. Unnonu and the diseases kulla again 2 more rise, communicable and non-communicable, and between both of them, vaccine preventable and dose vision. And the non-communicable diseases, we are making that grave blunder of ignoring. Inge na paakumbodhu, the kind of deaths which take place in non-communicable, we just ignore. Somebody dies, not many people know that suicide la 50 பேர் ஒரு நாளைக்கு இறக்குறாங்க. ஆனா மார்ச் 17ஆம் தேதியில இருந்து ஒரு இறப்பு இல்லாத கோவிட் தான் கேப்சர் பண்றது பப்ளிக்கோட இமேஜினேஷன். இப்பவும் ஒரு பக்கத்துல கல்லூரியில இன்க்ரீஸ் ஆகுது. ஏன்னா அப்படி, பிகாஸ் தட்ஸ் a pandemic. But so many people are suffering out of diabetes, and he has touched a very topical subject of type 1 diabetes, like individual experiences. That is what this book has captured. I always have been interacting with it, with our fellow doctors and all. COVID has brought that to the fore, that public wants to know. முதல்ல எல்லாம் பப்ளிக் நம்ம இதுதான் கரெக்ட்னு சொன்னா இல்ல, அவங்க கேட்கறாங்க, புரியணும்னு சொல்றாங்க. பத்திரிகை தொலைக்காட்சி துறையும் புட்டு அதை வைக்கிறாங்க. பத்திரிகையாளர்கள் இருக்கும்போது they want us to know who is the best person to speak. Not many people would have noticed that whenever I am given the duty to address the media, many a times I always say I am quoting from what public health experts say. As a secretary, I can have a view, but that is not important. What experts say, அந்த மாதிரி உள்ள experts பல காலத்துல என்ன ஆகுதுன்னா, they do research, they do peer reviewed articles, but Lancetல வரும். But common peopleக்கு புரியற மாதிரியும் கொண்டு வரணும்ங்கிறது my this thing, and I'm extremely proud that this is his 29th and 30th book. இந்த மாதிரி புத்தகங்கள் தான் ஆக்சுவலா ரீச் ஆகி பப்ளிக்கு புரியற மாதிரி இருக்கும். ஏன் இதை சொல்றேன்னா, மக்களை தேடி மருத்துவம்னு ஒரு மிகப்பெரிய திட்டத்தை ஆகஸ்ட் 5ஆம் தேதி ஆனரபிள் சீஃப் மினிஸ்டர் இனாகிரேட் பண்ணாரு. வீடு தேடி நாங்களும் போனோம். போகும்போது, you believe it or not, we found so many people who were in denial of diabetes. நாங்க அப்படியே செக் பண்ணும்போது அந்த பாட்டிக்கு விட முடியல. சரிப்பா, உன்னோட பிபியும் சுகர் பார்த்தா ஒருத்தருக்கு 500. அதுல நீங்க நம்பரை பார்த்தா இட்ஸ் so frightening. 70.94 lakh beneficiariesனா 25.42 are first time diagnosed for BP, 19 for diagnosed for sugar, 19 lakh for sugar, 14.42 both. So totally it is 62.53 lakhs. 88% of the first time takers are, they are not knowing. ஆனா இன்னைக்கு சயின்டிபிக் உலகத்துல இவங்க சொல்யூஷன் கண்டுபிடிச்சு கொடுத்துருக்காங்க. 100 years back, if a type 1 diabetes born is destined to die in 2 to 3 years. Today, they have brought that to people. And they have brought the experiences of people, and the over story, it captures a kind of scenario for people to involve and get involved and ensure that they take advantages of these pluses which they have brought. Every complication of diabetes, they have a solution. Every facet, they have a solution. And with these two books, and second one is again, Idilum Sirappu, Tamilliye Puriyara mari, ellarkum pora mari irukum. So it is our duty to acknowledge that while this is the final one last point I would like to make is that அவங்க எப்பவுமே ரொம்ப வருத்தப்படுறது ஒர்க் லைஃப் பேலன்ஸ், லைஃப் ஸ்டைல் மாடிஃபிகேஷன், எக்ஸசைஸ். இது ரெண்டு பண்ணா மருந்து அடிச்சேன்னு. ஆனா நம்ம இப்ப இருக்கிற சூழல்ல நோபடி கிவ்ஸ். நானே ஒரு தினம் கேட்பேன், சார் தூக்கமே இல்லை, எக்ஸசைஸே பண்ண முடியல, உணவுல நான் கண்ட்ரோல் இல்லை, எனக்கு ஒரு மருந்து கொடுங்க அப்படின்னு தான் இவங்ககிட்ட கேட்கறாங்க. ஸோ நம்ம இவங்களுக்கு எக்ஸ்பர்ட்டுக்கு செடிஸ் ஆயிடுச்சு. இஃப் யூ ஹியர் தெம் and go by their guidances, I am sure so much of wonderful quality of life improvement people can say. This book is one more step for those people with type 1 diabetes to understand that they have a wonderful life ahead. There are numerous examples of success stories of type 1 diabetes leading and life fully. அந்த மாதிரி உள்ள எக்ஸாம்பிள் சொல்லி நெகட்டிவிட்டியை வெளியில எடுத்து நம்ம மருத்துவர்கள் இவங்க வந்து they have the capacity to find solution for everything. I really admire and I feel that we also need to really focus and applaud the translational research which they do. Which is a way why last time COVID-ல இருக்கிற இறப்பு இப்போ இல்லாத காரணம் ஒரு பக்கம் நோய் தடுப்பு, இன்னொரு பக்கம் clinical improvement which they have done. With these few words, I really feel honored that he thought I should come and release, get an opportunity to release the first book. I acknowledge you, sir. We are proud of you. Many more Padmas you should get. All the best to you.
Thank you, sir, for your appreciation and encouraging words. We are privileged to have you with us for the launch of the books. We now request Mrs. Roshan Poncha to kindly address the gathering.
Dr. Mohan, Chairman, Dr. Mohan's Diabetes Specialty Center. Dr. R.M. Anjana, Managing Director, Dr. Mohan's Diabetes Specialty Center. Dr. J. Radhakrishnan, Principal Secretary, Health and Family Welfare, Government of Tamil Nadu. Dr. Sudha Seshayan, Vice Chancellor, the Tamil Nadu Dr. MGR Medical University. Dr. Su Tillai Valal, Cardiologist and Medical Director, Venkateshwara Hospitals. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Insulin has been my companion since the age of 2. That's when I was diagnosed as a toddler with type 1 diabetes. At that age, I couldn't comprehend the reality of the situation. But over the past 40 years, I have seen changes right from the Benedict solution urine tests to the continuous glucose monitoring pump. Throughout all this, there has been only one constant: insulin. And were it not for its path-breaking discovery 100 years ago, I doubt I would have seen my 3rd birthday, let alone be with you all addressing this august gathering. For over 2 decades, I had lived my entire life on a single dose of insulin daily under the care of Dr. F.P. Atia in Mumbai. Surprisingly, the doctors I consulted after Dr. Atia's death were not convinced about the efficacy of just 1 dose a day. So I was without a doctor for a year. Despite this, I carried on with my conviction. Marriage brought me from Mumbai to Chennai, where I had the fortune of meeting Dr. Mohan, whom my godmother, Mrs. Clubwala, introduced me to. Admittedly, Dr. Mohan hadn't come across a patient who managed to live a healthy life with just 1 dose of insulin a day. He said to me, most patients with type 1 diabetes need 3 to 4 injections per day, and very rarely 2 might suffice. On hearing this, my face fell, and doctor noticed it. He went through my papers meticulously and said, as long as you can maintain your control, I'll be happy to oblige you with one insulin shot a day. It was as though a divine force had brought me to Dr. Mohan. Thank you for that. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I'd say being the first to be introduced to Banting, Bose and beyond has been my privilege and honor. Dr. Mohan's passion for literature and his extraordinary commitment to the cause of diabetes has given birth to this precious book. Being a natural storyteller, Doctor takes us through an anecdotal journey of his experiences with his patients and their success stories. The manner in which Doctor has interwoven the story of insulin, its origin and evolution, and juxtaposed it with the stories of his patients makes for compelling reading. The mundane topic, one might say, of a metabolic condition has transformed into a suspense thriller in the hands of Dr. Mohan. And I couldn't help but wonder whether or not the author is a doctor or an Agatha Christie reincarnate. Those who have read his first book, Making Excellence a Habit, will concur with me that literature and storytelling are rather close to his heart. Banting, Bose and Beyond is a work of art. It is filled with color, description, emotions like joy, sorrow, and suspense, spanning the globe from Tamil Nadu to Toronto. The book also features inspirational stories about scientists, patients, caregivers, and crusaders like Jaz Sethi, Nupur Lalwani, Harish Kohli. And with Dr. Mohan as the protagonist, you will learn how many hats Doctor had to don in so many different avatars, from doctor to devotee to lending a shoulder and even playing Cupid. Yes, I was also exhilarated reading about Dorothy Hodgkins, the lady who paved the way for the mass production of insulin. I'm humbled to be featured in the book under the chapter titled The Forbidden Fruit. Dr. Mohan is my forever favorite because he's even allowed me half a mango. As we approach the end with the T word technology, although we marvel at how the artificial pancreas can change the life of a diabetic, the community continues to hope for newer path-breaking discoveries. In conclusion, this book has beautifully chronicled how insulin was discovered and meticulously documented in Calcutta and Chennai by none other than Dr. J.P. Bose and the father of diabetology in India, Professor Vishwanathan. And we, ladies and gentlemen, are indeed fortunate that his son, Dr. Mohan, has gifted us this book. So, if you're hungry, bite the bullet, buy the book, and devour every chapter. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Poncha, for sharing your experience and being part of the book. We now move on to the release of the autobiography in Tamil written by Dr. V. Mohan, Edilum Sirappu. I request Dr. Sudha Seshayan to release the book and hand over the first copy to Dr. Thillai Vallan. Can I have both the books too, sir? Thank you. I now request Dr. Sudha Seshan to kindly say a few words.
மிகுந்த மதிப்பிற்குரிய தமிழ்நாடு அரசின் நலவாழ்வுத்துறை முதன்மை செயலாளர் அவர்களே, மிகுந்த மதிப்பிற்குரிய டாக்டர் மோகன் விஸ்வநாதன் அவர்களே, இந்த நிகழ்ச்சியில் மிகச் சிறப்பாக பங்கேற்றுக் கொண்டிருக்கக்கூடிய திருமதி ரோஷன் போன்ஷா அவர்களே, எப்போது பார்த்தாலும் எனக்கு அச்சத்தை தோற்றுவிக்கக்கூடிய டாக்டர் தில்லை வள்ளல், டாக்டர் நரேஷ்குமார் அவர்களே, என்னுடைய கல்லூரி சீனியர்கள், பார்த்தால் பயமாகத்தான் இருக்கிறது, டாக்டர் அஞ்சனா அவர்களே, இந்த நிகழ்ச்சியில் பங்கேற்றுக் கொண்டிருக்கக்கூடிய பெரியோர்களே, நண்பர்களே, ஒரு மகிழ்ச்சியான நேரம், மகிழ்ச்சியான தருணம். எதிலும் சிறப்பு என்கிற டாக்டர் மோகன் அவர்களுடைய ஆட்டோபயோகிராஃபி என்று நான் சொல்லிவிட மாட்டேன். இன்னமும் பல அத்தியாயங்கள் சேர இருக்கின்றன. எனவே வேண்டுமானால் ஒரு பார்ஷியல் ஆட்டோபயோகிராஃபி என்று சொல்லலாம். அந்த புத்தகத்தினுடைய தமிழ் மொழிபெயர்ப்பு, அதனை இப்போது வெளியிடுகிற ஒரு வாய்ப்பு எனக்கு கிட்டியிருக்கிறது என்பதற்காக முதலில் அவருக்கு என்னுடைய நெஞ்சார்ந்த நன்றிகள். ஒரு சில மாதங்களுக்கு முன்னர் வேறு ஒரு நிகழ்ச்சி நிறைவடைந்து அந்த நிகழ்ச்சியை பற்றி ஏதோ விவாதிக்கும் போது டாக்டர் மோகன் அவர்கள் அவருடைய அந்த ஆங்கில புத்தகத்தை எனக்கு அனுப்பி வைத்தார். மேக்கிங் எக்ஸலன்ஸ் அ ஹேபிட் என்கிற அந்த ஆங்கில புத்தகம். அந்த புத்தகத்தை பார்த்தவுடன் அதனுடைய தலைப்பு என்னை ஈர்த்தது. காரணம், ஹேபிட் என்கிற வார்த்தையின் மீது எனக்கு ஒரு மோகம் உண்டு. சின்ன வயதில் எல்லோருமே விளையாடி இருப்போம். எழுத்துக்களை வைத்துக்கொண்டு வார்த்தைகளை சேர்க்கிற ஒரு விளையாட்டு. என்னை பொறுத்தவரையில் இன்றைக்கும் எனக்கு மிகவும் பிடித்த விளையாட்டு அதுதான். நேரம் கிடைத்த போதெல்லாம் மேடையில் கூட சில நேரங்களில் ஐபேடை வைத்துக்கொண்டு ஸ்கிராபிள் விளையாடுகிற வழக்கம் எனக்கு உண்டு. அந்த ஹேபிட் என்கிற வார்த்தை, சின்ன வயதில் அந்த ஹேபிட் வார்த்தையை வைத்துக்கொண்டு விளையாடும் போது அந்த வார்த்தையில் இருக்கக்கூடிய நுணுக்கம் கண்ணில் பட்டது. HABIT என்று எழுதுகிறோமே, அதை எழுதி பார்த்தால் ஒருவேளை அதில் இருக்கக்கூடிய முதல் எழுத்து போய்விடுகிறது என்று வைத்துக் கொள்வோம். H என்பது போய்விட்டால் கூட a bit இருக்கும். அந்த ஏவும் போய்விடுகிறது என்றால் bit will remain. அந்த பியும் போய்விட்டால் it will still remain. ஒரு முறை வந்துவிட்ட பழக்கம் கடைசி வரை போகாது என்பதை மிக சூசகமாக காட்டக்கூடிய ஒரு வார்த்தை அது. It will still remain with you. ஏற்படுத்தி கொண்டு விட்ட பழக்கம் நிச்சயமாக ஒருவரை விட்டு போகாது. மேக்கிங் எக்ஸலன்ஸ் a habit என்கிற நூலில் இந்த நுணுக்கத்தை தான் டாக்டர் மோகன் தெரியப்படுத்தி இருந்தார். அந்த நுணுக்கத்தை இப்போது எல்லோரையும் சென்றடையக்கூடிய விதத்தில் எதிலும் சிறப்பு என்று தமிழில் தந்திருக்கிறார். இன்று வெளியிடப்பட்ட அந்த ஆங்கில புத்தகத்தை பற்றி பேசும்போது முதன்மை செயலர் அவர்கள் ஒரு மருத்துவராக, ஒரு எக்ஸ்பர்ட்டாக, ஒரு டயபிட்டாலஜிஸ்டாக டாக்டர் மோகன் என்னவெல்லாம் ஆலோசனை தருகிறார், அந்த ஆலோசனையை நம்மை போன்றவர்கள் கடைபிடிக்க வேண்டும் என்று கூறினார்கள். ஆனால் இந்த புத்தகத்தை நான் ஒரு டாக்டருடைய புத்தகம் என்பதாக பார்க்கவில்லை. இது ஒரு மனிதர், ஒரு ஹோல்சம் இண்டிவிஜுவல் மற்ற மனிதர்களுக்கு சொல்லக்கூடிய தன்னுடைய அனுபவ உண்மைகள் என்பதாகத்தான் பார்க்கிறேன். இதில் பல அனுபவ உண்மைகளை அவர் பேசியிருக்கிறார். எடுத்துக்காட்டாக ஒன்றிரண்டை மாத்திரம் இங்கே தொட்டு பார்க்கலாம். மல்டி டாஸ்கிங் என்று இன்றைக்கெல்லாம் பேசுகிறோமே, அந்த மல்டி டாஸ்கிங்கை பற்றி ஒரு சாப்டர் இதில் இருக்கிறது. கவனம் இருந்தால் வெற்றி உண்டு. இந்த மல்டி டாஸ்கிங் பல விஷயங்களை ஒருவர் செய்கிறார். இப்போது டாக்டர் மோகனையே எடுத்துக்கொண்டால் ஒரு பிரபல மருத்துவர். பிரபல மருத்துவர் என்பது மாத்திரமில்லை, ஒரு மிகப்பெரிய மருத்துவமனை தொடர், செயின் ஆஃப் ஹாஸ்பிட்டல்ஸ், இதை நிர்வாகம் செய்யக்கூடியவர், ஒரு மருத்துவ ஆராய்ச்சியாளர், ஒரு நூலாசிரியர், நல்ல நண்பர், பல நிகழ்ச்சிகளில் பங்கு கொள்ளக்கூடியவர் என்றெல்லாம் பல முகங்கள் அவருக்கு உண்டு. இந்த பல முகங்கள் இருக்கும்போது அப்படி இருக்கக்கூடிய ஒருவரை பார்த்து மல்டி டாஸ்கர், he does a lot of things, he does several things என்று சொல்கிறோம். ஆனால் மல்டி டாஸ்கிங்குடைய மிகப்பெரிய அடிப்படை தேவை அந்த நேரத்தில் கையில் எது இருக்கிறதோ அதன் மீது முழுமையான கவனம். Not getting diverted into the other components of multitasking. ஒருவர் பல விஷயங்களை செய்யலாம், ஆனால் அப்படி பல விஷயங்களை செய்யும் போது அந்த நேரத்தில் கையில் இருப்பதை முழுமையாக கவனத்தோடு பார்க்கக்கூடிய தன்மைதான் ஒருவரை நிறைய விஷயங்களை செய்வதற்கும் நிறைய சாதிப்பதற்கும் வழிகோலும். அந்த உண்மையை மிக அற்புதமாக இதில் சொல்லி இருக்கிறார். கவனம் இருந்தால் வெற்றி உண்டு. அதுவும் கூட தன்னுடைய பள்ளிக்கூட அனுபவங்களை வைத்துக்கொண்டு இதற்கு ஒரு உதாரணம் சொல்கிறார். எப்படி அந்த ஃபோக்கஸ், இஃப் யூ ஹாவ் கம்ப்ளீட் ஃபோக்கஸ் யூ வில் பி ஏபிள் டு சக்சீட் என்பதற்கு அவர் சொல்லக்கூடிய உதாரணம், பள்ளிக்கூடத்தில் எல்லாம் பிசிக்ஸ் வகுப்பில் நாம் பார்த்திருப்போம். லென்ஸ் வைத்துக்கொண்டு அந்த லென்ஸ் வழியாக ஒளியை விடும்போது ஃபோக்கல் பாயிண்ட்ல போய் அது தங்கினால் அதனால் ஏற்படக்கூடிய அந்த விளைவு அதே ஒளிதான், அதே வெப்பம்தான். ஆனால் லென்ஸ் வழியாக ஃபோக்கஸ்க்கு போகும்போது இருக்கிற எஃபெக்ட் வேற, ஃபோக்கல் பாயிண்ட் இல்லைன்னா இருக்கிற எஃபெக்ட் வேற. இந்த சிம்பிள் உதாரணத்தை வைத்துக்கொண்டு கவனம் எப்படி இருக்க வேண்டும், அதிலும் அவருடைய தந்தையை அதில் நினைவு கூறுகிறார். Kindly permit me to read, quote, என்னுடைய கையில் இருக்கும் வேலையில் நான் கவனம் செலுத்த வேண்டும் என்றுதான் என் தந்தை எப்போதும் வலியுறுத்துவார். என்னுடைய கவனத்தை மெருகேற்றுகிற இந்த பழக்கம்தான் அவரிடமிருந்து பல திறமைகளை கற்றுக்கொள்ள எனக்கு உதவியது. என்னுடைய பணி வாழ்க்கையின் தொடக்கத்திலிருந்தே, அதாவது இளநிலை மாணவராக இருந்த போதே நான் அந்த மருத்துவ திறமைகளை செயல்படுத்த தொடங்கினேன். இது எனக்கு மிகவும் பாதிப்பை ஏற்படுத்திய ஒரு பத்தி. அதற்கு காரணம் உண்டு. அதனாலேதான் தொடக்கத்திலேயே இதை ஒரு மருத்துவரின் புத்தகமாக பார்க்காமல் ஒரு ஹோல்சம் இண்டிவிஜுவலின் புத்தகமாக பார்க்க வேண்டும் என்று நான் ஆசைப்பட்டேன். என்ன காரணத்தினாலோ பெரியவர்கள் நமக்கு கொடுத்திருக்கக்கூடிய சில வேல்யூஸை இன்றைக்கு காலப்போக்கில் மறக்கக்கூடிய ஒரு சூழல் வந்துவிட்டது. அந்த வேல்யூ சிஸ்டம், தன்னுடைய தந்தை தனக்கு ஏற்படுத்தி கொடுத்த ஒரு வேல்யூ சிஸ்டம், அந்த வேல்யூ சிஸ்டமை நினைவு கூர்ந்து அதுதான் எனக்கு வெற்றி படிக்கட்டை தந்திருக்கிறது என்று ஒருவர் சொல்வாரே என்றால் அவரை போன்றவர் தான் வருங்கால தலைமுறைக்கு ஒரு நல்ல எக்ஸாம்பிளாக இருக்க முடியும், ஒரு நல்ல ரோல் மாடலாக இருக்க முடியும் என்று நான் நம்புகிறேன். காரணம், இது போன்ற விழுமியங்கள் ஒருவர் என்னவாக வேண்டுமானாலும் இருக்கலாம், எத்தனை பட்டங்கள் வாங்கலாம், எத்தனை அதிகாரத்திற்கும் போகலாம், எவ்வளவு பெரிய பதவிக்கும் போகலாம். ஆனால் பதவிகளை தாண்டி, அதிகாரத்தை தாண்டி, எல்லாவற்றையும் தாண்டி ஒருவர் முழுமையான நல்ல மனிதராக இருக்கிறாரா என்று பார்த்தால் அதற்கு அடிப்படை I personally believe the values and the value systems. அந்த வேல்யூ சிஸ்டம் தரக்கூடியதாக இந்த நூல் இருக்கிறது. மன உறுதி எப்படி இருக்க வேண்டும், ஒரு காலத்திற்கு ஏற்ற எக்ஸாம்பிள்ஸை பயன்படுத்துகிற ஒரு யுக்தி, ஒரு நல்ல நூலாசிரியரின் யுக்தி, ஒரு நல்ல கதாசிரியரின் யுக்தி. வெஸ்டர்ன் லிட்ரேச்சர்ல கைடி மாப்புசானை பற்றி சொல்லுவார்கள். ஒரு கதையை எழுதும் போது சமகாலத்து உதாரணங்களை பயன்படுத்தக்கூடிய டெக்னிக், அந்த டெக்னிக் தான் மாப்புசானுடைய வெற்றிக்கு காரணம். கிட்டத்தட்ட அதே போன்ற ஒரு டெக்னிக்கை தன்னுடைய சிறுகதைகளில் பயன்படுத்தியவர் அமரர் கல்கி. தன்னுடைய ஆட்டோபயோகிராபியில் டாக்டர் மோகன் அந்த யுத்தியை பயன்படுத்தி இருக்கிறார் என்பதுதான் ஆச்சரியம் தருகிறது. வாழ்த்துக்கள். நிறைவாக ஒன்றே ஒன்று, மிக அற்புதமாக ஒன்றை சொல்கிறார், கொடுத்த வாக்கை மீறாதீர்கள். சின்ன விஷயம், ஆனா எவ்வளவு பெருசு. அதுவும் கூட தன்கிட்ட இருக்கக்கூடிய அஞ்சல் தலைகளை, நாணயங்களை டாக்டர் மோகன் சிறு பையனாக இருந்தபோது அவருக்கு தருகிறேன் என்று ஒருவர் சொன்னாராம். சொன்னவர் கடைசி வரை கொடுக்கவில்லை. ஒவ்வொரு முறை போய் கேட்ட போதும் இன்னொரு நாள், இன்னொரு நாள், இன்னொரு நாள் என்று அந்த வாக்கு மீறப்பட்டு கொண்டே இருந்தது. சின்ன விஷயம்தான். ஆனா அந்த வாக்கு மீறப்படும் போது வாக்கு மீறுபவரை பற்றிய இமேஜ் எவ்வளவு தூரம் கீழே சரிந்து போகிறது என்பதை மிக அழகாக தன்னுடைய அனுபவத்திலிருந்து சொல்லி இருக்கிறார். டாக்டர் மோகன், உங்களுக்கு நெஞ்சார்ந்த நன்றிகள். காரணம், not because you are a great doctor, not because you are an expert. மனிதர்கள் எப்படி வாழ வேண்டும் என்பதற்கு ஒரு ரோல் மாடல் புத்தகத்தை நீங்கள் தந்திருக்கிறீர்கள். இது எல்லோருக்கும் பயன்பட வேண்டும். இது எல்லோருடைய வாழ்க்கையையும் செம்மைப்படுத்த வேண்டும் என்று நெஞ்சார விரும்புகிறேன். இதில் தந்திருக்கப்பட்டிருக்கக்கூடிய இந்த தலைப்புகள் கூட எப்படி ஒரு ஹோல்சம் லிவிங், எப்படி எல்லோரும் ஒற்றுமையாக ஹார்மனைஸ்ட் லிவிங் என்பதை பற்றி இருக்கிறது என்பதற்கு ஒரு உதாரணம் தருகிறேன். ஒரு சாப்டருடைய தலைப்பு என்ன தெரியுமா? ஊர் கூடி தேரெழுத்தல். ஊர் கூடி தேரெழுத்தல். அந்த ஊர் கூடி தேரெழுத்தல் என்பதுதான் மனித சமுதாய வாழ்க்கை என்றால், your contribution to this kind of a harmonized living is extremely significant. Thank you very much. இப்படி ஒரு அற்புதமான வாய்ப்பை நீங்கள் எனக்கு கொடுத்ததற்காக நெஞ்சார்ந்த நன்றிகள். எதிலும் சிறப்பாக இருப்பதற்கு உங்கள் அடிதொட்டு எல்லோருமே முயற்சி செய்வோம் என்பதை என்னுடைய வாக்காக இன்றைக்கு உங்களுக்கு தருகிறேன். அந்த வாக்கு மீறாமல் இருப்பதற்கு எல்லோரும் ஒத்துழைத்து நீங்களே வழிகாட்ட வேண்டும். நன்றி.
Thank you, ma'am, for your kind words and elaborative review of the book, Edilum Syrup. May I now request Dr. Tillai Valal to address the gathering.
Respected our friend, philosopher and guide and guru, Dr. Mohan. I see him from a distance. I'm sitting with him today. I'm very proud of this. Thank you. And Dr. J. Radhakrishnan, I was amazed by his work. And every day when I read the newspaper, I used to send a message to him. Thanks for enlightening us as well as empowering us as well as charging us with your views and ideas and your great work. Our Dr. Sudha Seshian, the same batchmate, and he's one of the greatest vice chancellors our university has had. Thank you, madam, for your excellent exposition and a great dissection of the book. And you told all the points which I wanted to talk. Thank you. And Dr. Radha Venkadeshan, the invocation song was very nice. Dr. R. Manjana, I'm happy to hear from you today that our boy is our Venkadeshwara baby. Thank you. We'll talk to Dr. Shanti. And Mrs. Roshan Pancha, very, very delightful talk, and we are very happy to hear from you. Thank you. And Dr. Naresh Kumar, we always admire him as a great surgeon, and always, whenever we feel difficulty, we think of him. In some of the difficult places, he helped us. And dear friends and ladies and gentlemen, and see, today is a great evening. You all agree with me that Dr. Mohan is a great doctor. I know him from the year 1992 when I finished my DM. I used to admire him from faraway distance. But I know his caliber, hard work, his sincerity, honesty, and passion for his research. Whenever I met you, you talked about research only with me, nothing else. When I talked about some patient, he talked about research again. So I know his passion for research. But today I was astonished by his book, Edilum Sirappu, Excellence Habit. It's a great book. It's a different dimension actually, as it's a wholesome book for every human being. You may be aware that as a doctor, he has to face a lot of things. That too, as a successful doctor, I just want to read one line from his book. His page number 187. முதலில் நீங்கள் உண்மையில் வெற்றி விரும்புகிறீர்களா இல்லையா என்று தீர்மானியுங்கள். வாழ்க்கையில் எல்லாவற்றுக்கும் ஒரு விலை உண்டு, வெற்றிக்கும் தான். அந்த விலையை தர நீங்க தயாராக இருக்க வேண்டும். பொறாமை, வலி, தூக்கமில்லா இரவுகள், உங்கள் வசதி பகுதிகளை தாண்டி செல்லுதல், go beyond your comfort zone, தியாகங்கள், you know better, all these things. இன்னும் கடினமாக உழைத்தல், இன்னும் அறிவோடு பணியாற்றுதல். So we do our own mistakes. We know our mistake. We don't talk about outside. It's so honest to talk about outside. I was amazed by the point of writing everything in detail, though the negative points as well as the challenges, the mistakes we have done, everything you write. Great, sir. It needs real strong willpower and mind power to write it as the great honesty. And அடிக்கடி எல்லை கோடுகளை உயர்த்துதல், தோல்விகள். We don't talk about the outside. வெளியே பேசவே மாட்டோம் நாங்க. அது openly writes everything. எரிச்சல்கள், இதெல்லாம் நிறைய இருக்கு. இந்த மாதிரி நிறைய விஷயங்கள் பண்ணாதான் we can be successful அப்படின்னு ரொம்ப ஓப்பனா தெளிவா கிளாரிட்டியோட கிறிஸ்டல் எழுதியிருக்காங்க. இன்னொரு முக்கியமான விஷயம், மல்டி டாஸ்கிங். He is wearing many hats. மருத்துவராக, ஆய்வாளராக, ஆசிரியராக, நிர்வாகியாக, நன்கொடையாளராக, ஆன்மீக மற்றும் சுயமுன்னேற்ற பேச்சாளராக, இந்த மாதிரி எல்லா மல்டிபிள் ஹேட்ஸ் இஸ் வியரிங். It's not easy one. It's a very difficult one, and he's one of the extraordinary gentlemen you can imagine. Probably one of the only person I know in the world who can do this job. I don't know anybody else can do that. I'm not telling exaggeration on this subject. 1992, I know him not through meeting, but his talk in Cardiologist of India meeting. See, can you imagine a diabetologist giving a talk to the cardiologists of this country? From the time seeing him. So, from that day, I used to admire. He's our place. He's from Chennai. Then I started knowing from him and interacted with him and got associated with him. So, then coming to this book, he goes deep dive into all subjects from his younger age onwards. See, he didn't miss anything. Like a tree got cut because of one student threw a stone on the tree and the stone hit him, but the tree got punished and the boy got reprimand. You understand? So these are some of the issues we do not understand in life. The tree has not any mistake, but he has got the punishment. This book is so astonishing and amazing book. Believe it or not, I read it in a single stretch, one go. It took 4 hours for me to read. Finished overnight. My wife was calling me from the bedroom. Where are you now? And I'm reading a book. Thanks, sir. And apart from the work, hard work, sincerity, passion, focus, humanity, the passion for human being, passion for people, passion for helping people, and following ethics and doing service, all he has gone deep dive into the subject and exposed everything from his life. It's a great book for every one of the doctors, not only doctors, every citizen of India to read, to understand about the life and work as well as the passion for the profession. But anybody reading this book will understand he's writing from his heart. It's beyond description or comparison to anything else. For example, some of the things which he talks about is the mystical life. First initially how he fell in love with Dr. Emma, and a lot of interesting things were talked by Dr. Naresh as well as Dr. Mohan. Then how difficult the time was at that time, and later, and how he got married. Everything very interesting, and it's a great interesting book for you to understand and read every aspects of life. And a lot of humors in that also, so personal. self-reflections, and it indicates greatness of his personality as well as his batchmates. 175th year, the best batch of probably the country, or the best batch of the Madras Medical College. That too, all together coming here, really a great thing. 1971 batch. Great, sir. We are proud of you, sir. We are proud of you. Great, sir. Great. And out of this, out of 100 students, 16 got married. That is love marriage, 8 couples in that. Dr. Mohan and Dr. Bose, one of the great, very interesting, very lively and lovely. Excellent, sir. And starting with the younger age, school expectations, and as I told you, the stamp, somebody not keeping the promise by giving money, and if they are not given the stamp, like that, a lot of things is, every subject teaches you a lesson. You may face a lot of difficulties, you may face problems, but you be your own. Never lose humanity and honesty. Some of the informations are so clear, it also indicates gentleness and generosity. I'm surprised. I know certain instances because I'm associated with him, but some of them, the way he put it, I can recollect. So gentle, so subtle, so generous. Great, sir. Thank you, sir. All of you know about the passion for research. He has done the largest number of research papers in the world. I think he's the largest number of research in the world. I think 1,500 papers. Nobody in the world has published so far. Great, sir. Coming to Dr. Anjana, I'm happy to read in that book that you only opened the subject of going all India. It's a great. The young people have a different vision, different ideas, different thought process. So you have touched. Sir has touched people in Tamil Nadu and Chennai. You touched the entire country. 1,20,000, 27 lakhs people, 1,27,000 people study. It is not a simple work. I know for 100 patients doing work is difficult. I know what it is. For 1,27,000 patients study by Dr. Anjana, salute you for a great work and a great passion for research, followed by you also, like your father. Great. And not only that, the PHFA studies materials prepared by the team, Dr. Ranjit also, and together they have touched much more. Dr. Ranjit has touched his subject, his expertise through PHF. He has touched 1.3 crores patients, 1.3 crores patients in the country. Great, Dr. Ranjit. Great to know this. Only through these books I understood all these things. And very interesting thing, every life is a miracle. Everything is a miracle now. So we are not able to understand many things in our life. We accept it as a miracle and move on and do our best. Dr. Mohan focuses on many, does not forget about many things. We have a school friend like Hari Bhaskar. He talks about Hari Bhaskar, who is 70 plus, I think. Still is passionate about health, physical education, helping others, traveling all over the place. Though he's a diabetic on insulin. Great, unbelievable things he is doing. And remembering him and putting in the book, it's a great, sir. In fact, finally he touches on focus and passion, resilience and hard work, and his delegation of work to others also. That's, I think, all these subjects are touched. It's a comprehensive and complete book for every human being to read and follow in his life. In fact, I am grateful and thank you for the great honor given to me. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your kind words of appreciation. We are fortunate to have with us many of Dr. Mohan's classmates from Madras Medical College, the famous 1971 MBBS batch, this evening. Among them is Dr. MP Naresh Kumar, a well-known cardiothoracic surgeon of Chennai, and his wife, Dr. Mirnali Naresh Kumar, fondly called as Meera. Both of them who are very close friends of Dr. Mohan for the past 50 years. Dr. Naresh was an outstanding student, having won several prizes and medals. He then underwent training with the world-famous cardiothoracic surgeon, Dr. Sir Magadi Yaqub, in the UK. After working for some time in the Saudi Arabia, Dr. Naresh came back to Chennai to serve his country. Dr. Naresh is currently the Chief Thoracic Surgeon at Surya Hospital and the Public Health Center, West Mambalam. We would be very grateful, Dr. Naresh, if you can say a few words on behalf of Dr. Mohan's classmates and friends.
Good evening. Luminaries on the days and my friends and off the days and the press. Mohan called me, I think yesterday, day before, and said, can you say a few words on behalf of the batch? My immediate reaction was to say, no, impossible. I mean, you can't talk about a man like Mohan. And he said, he'll give me 5 minutes. And I said, it's not possible. But then I'm a cardiac surgeon, so impossible we do now. The miracles take a little time. We believe in miracles. So I agreed. And on behalf of the batch of 1971, which has been judged the best ever of MMC, that's more than 185 years now. The band of people, young men and women, came together about 51 years ago, that is in 1971. And they became great doctors, and they went all over the world. They still are spread all over the world. Many are probably watching today. And on behalf of them, to represent and felicitate one of the great luminaries of this batch, Dr. Mohan Viswanathan, is always a pleasure, and therefore I'm here. The batch of 1971, I must say, has probably got a bunch of Padma Awards and BC Raj and Vice Chancellors. Sudha is our great friend, and she is also Vice Chancellor. We'll come again. So basically, this honorary member of 71. So basically, the group of 70, batch of 71 is reached 50 years, and we are celebrating in September our golden rendezvous, that is golden get-together, 50th year. And it's a very, very rare occasion, barring a few who have passed on. I think it will be an iconic and a landmark meeting. So we look forward to that, and it's definitely a pleasure and an honor to represent all of them in felicitating our friend Mohan. I have not come here to talk about Mohan, the great diabetologist, which we all know he is. He is also a great researcher of international repute that was told the world many things. We know that he is. And I certainly have not come here to talk about my great friend. He is a great family man, a great father, and a wonderful great grandfather. We all know that. Definitely, I'm not here to talk about the great leading spiritual leader with a mission. We all know that he is all that and much more. But I'm here to talk about Mohan the writer. And I think we have the license to talk about Mohan the writer because we've seen him start writing right from the beginning. And there are many types of writing, as you know. The press probably know that better. Narrative, descriptive, expository, poetic. That's part of it. But mostly creative. Because in medical college, most people know how to write. Otherwise, you don't get out of MBBS. You have to write something. But there's a special group called prize exam students. And there's a different breed. Some have heard somewhere in the past, or even some whispered name, or some decrepit bacteria somewhere, and they'll write a 40-page magnum opus, knowing nothing. Less known, the better. And Mohan was a master of this art. We call it creative writing. Now, she was mentioning about Guide Maupassant, Sudha, as being the model for that book, his autobiography. Agreed. But the second one, I thought, would be much more prosaic, down to earth, very flat, factual, and for once narrative. I go and read this book, and what do I find? This guy has become more romantic, more passionate, and writes prose like poetry. And 50 years after talking to a cadaver in the anatomy department hall, where he wrote a poetry on that, he wrote one poem to a cadaver. He is now waxing more poetic than that. And whenever he talks about, going to a place, a dead and dumb place in Toronto called, Banting and Best Diabetes Center, which has been rebuilt. And he stands there. And I think I should quote it properly. Anyway, he writes there saying that I stood there in great awe with bated breath. And then he goes about saying goosebumps all over his arms. He said, what is this? This is history or is it some sort of a poetic stuff? So he writes all that. I also had the same situation, Mohan. When I went to Antarian Museum, the first time when I went there, I got similar physiological reactions. But I put it down to the extreme cold of the English weather. But here you are writing books about it. Amazing. That's the kind of passionate writer he is. And he has done, I really thought he would have changed your style by now into a more prosaic, after all the scientific papers, that's called persuasive writing. He writes about, 15,000 or something like that papers. We all count our papers, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now you'll come to a few thousands. So he goes about writing all these things and says, convince the world that India and particularly Chennai is the capital of diabetes. Everybody believes. Persuasive writing, He calls it, of course, scientific articles, but I call it persuasive writing. Great, it's wonderful, and he still does that. So basically, he's still writing the same passionate way that he was used to write, much more. And this particular book, I was so happy to say, the little anecdotes that he has put together and woven it together as a very engaging book. Right from the time when there was no insulin to how it came to India and how about the same time it came to India and how Bose was giving. See, he makes you feel, he wants you to sort of feel the emotion of these people. And he succeeds very much. He succeeds very much. You feel like you go and crush that pancreas or, go up to the islands of Langerhans or whatever and then, hit it a little bit. So you feel very motivated to do something about it. And he does. So basically, he has done this and he has put together the trials and tribulations of several of the type 1 diabetics in a very engaging narrative. The man, the Rajaratnam, who ran the marathon. Then that gentleman, he's there. Oh yeah, hi. There he is. Amazing. And then he talks about that gentleman, Lakshmi Narayana. I'm only reminded about my classmate, Lakshmi Narayana. He used to be late also. And this Lakshmi Narayana now goes about making it easy for diabetics to, he said, my glucometer does not talk because he's blind. He's diabetically, visually challenged. Amazing stories put together in such an engaging way that anybody can read it and enjoy it. Imagine, surgeons like this even enjoy it. So that's great. I think that's a mark of amazing work. And Mohan, I must say that I was there for the launch of the first one. So I must say that, there's Sudha has done that much better than anybody can do, particularly in Tamil. We always appreciate the way you talk, Sudha. I always listen to your talks. So I'm not going to talk much about that. Sorry, man. What do they call it nowadays? His Excellency or Your Eminence? I don't know whatever it is. I apologize. So basically, when we are here, and many have made it, and many are still watching. I think we want to wish you the very, very best. And one last thing before I leave, there is an article. There is one chapter on Like Father, Like Son. I thought it's going to be about his father and himself. But actually, basically, he placed it loosely on a condition which becomes hereditary because of a genetic factor. I said, I don't know about diabetes being genetic or hereditary. Definitely, looking at Professor Viswam, as he called his father, or Mohan, or Anjana, the lovely Anjana, and then now, the first child probably who heard the first word whispered into the ear was diabetes. Yes. This guy goes and tells his grandson when he's born, diabetes. Yeah, it's true. Pranava Mandra, So he is also probably going to turn out to be a diabetologist, right? So yes, it's not the diabetes which is caused by genes, but the diabetologist. This guy has made it very clear it is hereditary. So we wish you all the very best, and thank you very much for giving these 2 books. And don't change your style, please. Have a nice day.
Thank you, sir, for the wonderful felicitation in a lighter way. I call upon Dr. Mohan to respond to our felicitation.
Thank you, Pradeepa. First of all, good evening to all of you. Extremely grateful to our chief guests, Dr. Radhakrishnan and Dr. Sudha Sheshayan. Many of you may not know how busy they are. In fact, he has just come from Salem. And he said, if I go to my office, they'll catch me. So I took a different route and I came. So that shows the commitment of Dr. Radhakrishnan. You all know how humble he is and how beautifully he handled the COVID pandemic. When governments change, normally they change all the AS officers, but they didn't change Dr. Radhakrishnan. Any government can come, Dr. Radhakrishnan still remains health secretary. So he is beyond politics, and that just shows the person who he is. And Dr. Sudha Sheshayan, we are very, very happy to have a vice chancellor like her heading the Tamil Nadu Dr. NJR Medical University in pure chaste Tamil. She spoke, but we had asked her to speak in English. She has spoken in even more chaste English. So she is so bilingual, so widely read. Of course, Dr. Tillai, thank you so much for your kind words. He's one person. The reason I called him is every single time something comes in the newspaper or something, not now, for the last 20 years, first message I'll get in the morning will be, only then I'll know something has come in the paper. Dr. Tillai will say, congratulations, sir. Then I'll ask him, what is it for? No, the Hindu has written about you. So I haven't even opened the Hindu. So he's the first person to pick that up. Thank you, Tillai. We're all blessed to have friends like you. And of course, Roshan, we have always called her for all our functions because she wears so many hats and able to do each one of them so well. So thank you, Roshan. That was a beautiful speech. You almost made me cry. And Naresh, of course, you can see there's only one common factor between both the books, and that is Naresh. Sorry, Naresh, we didn't make you sit here. We thought, there'll be a traffic jam here. That's why we made you sit there. But I know you don't mind sitting anywhere. In fact, first thing Sudha asked us, why is Naresh sitting there? I said, Naresh, enga ukandalam, he is very happy. That is Naresh, I said. So I'm very blessed that for this evening function, so many of my classmates have come, my walking friends are all here, the Madras Club members are here. The other person who is common is Ravi from the Hindu, and Shankar was here, and Dr. Rai and Mrs. Rai, Snehata Rai, they were all there for the last function as well. I never thought that, 1 year exactly after that last book is published, we'll be publishing 2 more. So the first thing people ask me is, when is your next book coming? I said, oh God, we haven't even released this one, so give it a chance. But passion for writing has always been there. In fact, I wanted to be a writer. That comes out in my autobiography. It's my father who actually told me, you can do medical writing as well. He kind of tempted me at that time, and that's how I came to medicine. Much has been told about the 100th year of insulin. And sir, it's not 2 years without insulin. 2 years is a dream. It's few weeks, 2 months on an average. 1 year and 2 years, these children lived only if they were starved. So they went into the Allen starvation diet. They'd be pushed there and given nothing to eat. Some vegetables, maybe a piece of chicken occasionally. The total calories is 300, 400 calories per day. They wasted away worse than any cancer, worse than any TB or both of them put together until they died. And only if they starved. And that too, they got only a few months of their life. And the interesting story about Elizabeth Hughes, who, when her father stood for the election, presidential election, and lost to Woodrow Wilson. And then he then became the Secretary of State. And he heard that some fellow in Toronto had discovered something. And then his wife goes and tells her husband, why can't you, because their 11-year-old daughter was almost dying due to type 1 diabetes. And they said, why can't you go and tell the president, he's your friend, go and tell him and send her to Toronto or get the insulin from there if there's something like this. And he says, no. He says, it's breaking ethics. Just because I'm in power, how can I use it for my child? There are a lot of others waiting. Then his wife tells him, so you want Elizabeth to die? No. So whole night he sits and thinks about it. Should I let Elizabeth die and become an ethical person? Or for the sake of my daughter, I put in a word to the president of US. to influence and get influence from a child. And what happened was his wife tells him, if you don't tell the president, I'm going to take her to Toronto. So she's actually locked up in the, Alan's place. And it's like a jail. So she quietly goes there, bribes that fellow, takes her out in the middle of the night and goes straight to Toronto. And Banting says, I can't see her like that. You don't have an appointment with me. And she says, I'll sit here till you give the insulin to my child. And that's how Elizabeth Hughes gets the first insulin. And after that, she survives, of course. She lives up to the age of 80. And because she thinks that her father will get a bad name because she broke the queue, she changed her name. She went to another place and lived there. Until she died, nobody knew who she was. It's only her grandson who discovered the whole thing, and then the book came out. Discovery, the book came out. So a lot of that research I had read before writing this book. And then I decided I'll go to Toronto, spend time there. There met Dr. Gary Lewis, the present director of Banting and Best Institute, who showed me Banting's glasses, the colorimeter that Best used. It was really, the goosebumps are real narration. It was summer, so it wasn't cold. So, but then I started asking, okay, we all heard of Leonard Thompson and Elizabeth Hughes, but who's the first Indian who got it? So I wrote all the seniors, my seniors, and said, do you know anything? Then I wrote all the insulin companies and said, tell me, when did insulin come to India? Nobody had a clue. So I said, let me start. This cannot go like that. You have to find out. So I spent 8 months researching, and then the papers started coming out one by one. Actually, I got from Toronto University. There's nothing here in India. I couldn't get anything. But they had preserved all the Indian literature. So from there, I got everything, and then got all Banting's handwritten things and everything I got from there. It's a treasure, actually. And that's how this book came. Then I thought, okay, why not? Then discovered J.P. Bose, of course, and Kumudini, who was just 12 years old, who wrote, who was the first child to get it. Her picture was there, everything brought. Now everybody in every meeting is talking about Kumudini and J.P. Bose. Actually, an oration about J.P. Bose already. But then I said, okay, that's all fine. 1920s, when Kumudini and J.P. Bose is there. What about the living heroes of type 1 diabetes? So I said, okay, will they actually share their stories? Because many of them, don't even want to say that they got diabetes. So we started approaching everyone. We have Lakshmi here in the audience. Lakshmi. So Lakshmi and Apakshita helped me with my first book also. And Lakshmi was a junior journalist whom Apakshita asked to write. So Lakshmi actually conducted all the interviews, including with Roshan, Sridhar, who's there, Marathon Rana, who's there. And we had Nupur from Pune, Jazz from Ahmedabad. They're all keenly listening to this particular program. Harsh was a fantastic man, and he had type 1 diabetes, didn't care much about it. Harsh, I know you're listening. Until his son, who's 8 years old, Arush, he got it. And then he spent his whole life thereafter for the welfare of type 1 diabetes. And so they all came forward and they said, share our stories because we want to know. Then we started finding out people who had received insulin 60, 70, 75. I must thank Naresh for putting me on to Mr. Krishnasamy, who is in Chennai. He worked at the British Council. He is 86 or so now. He's got diabetes of 72 years and still alive and still taking insulin. Then I discovered a guy in Nagpur through a colleague who's nearly 90 now, Hirachand Savane. He's nearly 90. He got diabetes when he was 15, 16. And almost 75, 76 years he's had type 1 diabetes, taking insulin all his life. Nobody even knew this. When I told Dr. Jitendra Singh, our Union Health Minister, Union Science Minister now, and he's my colleague, and I told him, have you heard of people who have lived for type 1 diabetes for 60 years? He said, no, it's not possible. I said, okay, come for a function. Last July, we handed out the first Dr. V. Mohan medal for victory over diabetes to 8 people who have crossed 60 years with type 1 diabetes. All of them feature in the book. They've own stories. They've told their own stories. And Lakshmi had to spend hours with each person. That's why I had to take their help. Each story took so many hours to write. And of course, Meena Fernandez from Bombay, who's also finished 60, 70 years. Rajiv Kaika. Lakshmi Narayana Naresh was born blind. The type 1 diabetes came later. So imagine a blind person, visually impaired, we should call them, not blind, and then getting type 1 diabetes, and now he's teaching type 1 children, having 2 disorders. So I gave him a hero award. I said, there's a type 1 hero. There's nobody like him that I know of. And Kavita, our own nurse, is she here, Kavita? So Kavita is this Kavita. So Kavita features in the book. She came to us as a small child, and then we treated her. And then she got admission as a nurse, became a nurse, joined us, and today teaches type 1s and does nursing for type 1s. That's Kavita. She's also part of the book. So these are true stories with their own names mentioned, photographs mentioned. And I was very surprised when they all did this. Of course, Notion Press brought it out very nicely. Suchitra is here? Or? I don't know. I don't think she's here. And I had another friend, Dr. Satyanath Mukhopadhyay, a colleague in Calcutta. He was trying to get Dr. J.P. Bose's details. Couldn't get anything. Dr. J.P. Bose was the first Indian doctor to be elected FNA. Even today, there are only about 6 or 8 people who have been elected FNA, the highest scientific honor in the country. And I wrote to Indian National Science Academy and said, he's a fellow. His name is there. Give me the photo. And they said, we don't have a photo. Satyanath contacted the family, contacted the grandchildren who are alive and who are there now. And one of them actually was in Chennai just yesterday. And she left by a flight today. So others should have joined us here. But we were able to get all the detailed J.P. Bose, including his photograph and all that. People like Dr. Kiran Majumdar Shah, Dheeraj Hinduja, cricketer VVS Lakshman was a very, very close friend of mine who has written for both the books, both my autobiography as for this. Ian Bloomer, who now heads the Charles Best Center in Toronto. Dr. Gary Lewis heads the Banting and Best Center. Dr. Graham Ogley, who gives out free insulin to children. Anywhere in the world, Life for a Child, it's called. Anybody, anywhere in the world doesn't get insulin, Graham Ogley will arrange it through his foundation. He has won so many awards for that. All of them have written advance praise for the book. And Dr. Kiran Majumdar Shah, when I chairperson of Biocon, I just told her, can you write a few lines? She said, I'll write a foreword. Why should I write a few lines? I'm so passionate about insulin. She's the one who reduced the price of insulin in India. She believes she can give insulin to every child with type 1 diabetes. So it's been a great team. And of course, I've had Ranjit and Anju read through the book very carefully and give me a lot of suggestions. My whole team here from Dr. Mohan Center and MDRF and many others who have contributed a lot. But you know why we do all this, Naresh? The reason is because there's something beyond writing, there's something beyond treating patients. 2 days ago, there was a young boy waiting to see me in the OP. And he said, he's just newly diagnosed type 1 diabetes, and the second visit, he's so happy. So while he was waiting to see me, he called for a piece of paper. And he said, I want to write something, draw something for Dr. Mohan. And then he drew this. It's a back of some paper. But while he was sitting there, he draws, he says, that's you, Dr. Mohan. And you're smiling, and I'm smiling because of you. And then he writes Dr. Mohan Center. Okay? I've not thrown it away. This is one of my most precious gifts. He's there. Hey, come forward. Come forward. I didn't know you're here. Oh my God, look at him. Come. Wow, that was a surprise. So he was, I didn't plan this at all. It's not a fake thing. I didn't even know he's coming. So he said, so he wrote this, and I said, why did you do this? Oh, I must do something for you, no? You have done something for me. So I said, this is something which really touches you. I think this is most precious for me than a Padma Shri or anything else. I think this is, there he is. Come. Get a picture. You are the hero. Come. So when I say your name, what's your name? Garg. Okay. So that's Garg. Come. So hold it. I didn't get a proper picture. Thank you. How old are you, Garg? How old? 8. So Garg is all of 8 years old. And how long you had it now?
From last?
How long?
Last August.
August. From August. Okay. And you're going to live up to 100. Okay. I'm waiting for people to finish 100. Savane has only reached 90. So I want you to, actually 100 is not enough. 150 now. That's what people say. Only thing, we're living too long for 150, Suppose you get married at 25, 125 years, same wife. Okay, that's one problem. Then the other thing is, imagine if you lived up to 150, how many jobs you'll change? About 20 jobs? Because there's no computers 150 years ago. There's no insulins 150 years ago. So a lot of things you have to live. So living too long also is, is a problem. But I think 100 years you can manage, Roshan. I think 100 is a good start. So once we have our 100th year, we'll get a picture of all people with the 100 type 2 diabetes have already taken pictures in this hall, and they're all doing very well. Okay, that makes me a little longer, but I'll try. Okay, so on that note, thank you all for being here, for all the love and affection, and look forward to seeing you soon for the next book. Lakshmi has already asked me when is the next book, so I said let me think about it. So thank you very much. Any questions from the press? Anybody? Oh yeah. So today is also the first death anniversary of the philanthropist and lawyer, Mr. C. Ramakrishna. He has been such a great philanthropist, and our land in Chunampet, the 8 or 9 acres of land, was donated by him as a Madras Club member. And he has done so much for society, schools, to the government, so much he has done. Thank you for reminding me about that. May his soul rest in peace. Thank you very much.
On behalf of Dr. Mohan's group of diabetes institutions, I would like to thank one and all for making this launch of Dr. Mohan's books a grand success. Request you all to please join us for high tea, which is served outside the auditorium. Thank you, one and all.